that when I came to St. Vincent about 7 years ago, I totally fall in love with this island. I have become a Vincentian citizen now, and you know what? They're coming so many people here to St. Vincent, and they totally love this country. And I get reminded of it all the time because we have new people coming in all the time. Maybe when you live here, sometimes you forget how incredibly beautiful this island is. And it's a treasure. It's actually maybe the Caribbean's best kept secret that we have such a beautiful island. And our tourists, they enjoy. We're walking in the Richmond Valley. You know, they go up what we call the Palm Trail, walking from Richmond Beach over to Fichus. They're enjoying the fantastic parrot trail in Cumberland. I know the trail is a little roughed up right now, but the trail as such is incredibly beautiful. And they will sit at the Falls of Belen and they will feel that they are in heaven, because that's what the message they bring back. But really, this is what people are telling us, and they are coming. Besides our students, that's why people want to come here to St. Vincent. And I think that what we can do is to make St. Vincent, well, maybe it is already the greenest, but we need to keep it the greenest, make it the cleanest, and maybe we can make this the world's first sustainable country, a carbon-neutral nation that produces all its own healthy food. And that will attract many more people to come here.
I don't think it's a matter of question, but probably just some comments, etc. In an international airport, a lot of work has to be done in terms of, after the airport is finished, in terms of the maintenance, getting traffic into Argyle. Presently, we have Trinidad, Barbados, and I think that's the three major areas of hub in the Caribbean where people come from, Europe, whatever, internationally. St. Vincent is strategically placed, and I wonder if there's any plans to make St. Vincent a hub, rather than the traffic goes to Barbados or Trinidad or Antigua, because it will be easier flying from New York to St. Vincent from probably other destinations into St. Vincent rather than go to Barbados or Trinidad. So I don't think there's any plans for that kind of traffic to make Argyle a very sustainable airport.
Argyle becoming a hub would not be an issue only for the Argyle Airport Management Company. It would have to be a collaboration between the Argyle Airport Management Company and the airlines that are flying to Argyle. Because airlines make decisions based on their bottom line, what is in their interest. So that you make the point that it might be easier to come here. They may or may not think that. The facilities at Argyle can accommodate what you're asking about, whether they can land here and essentially use here as a base. Because as you notice, we have a fairly substantial apron. And the terminal building is big, and it is likely to be, I think it will meet our needs for the next 15, 20 years without having to make any changes whatsoever. But, you know, whether, let's say, British Airways decides to use Argyle as a hub as opposed to Barbados where it is a hub now, is not a decision for government or for the airport management. It would be a decision almost for British Airways. But of course, British Airways can't become a hub in St. Vincent without the airport management sanctioning it. So there has to be some sort of collaboration between the two.
I would like to ask two quick questions. I know you mentioned about the Yambu, I think, waterfall or river, and you said that you will not be changing the course of it. It's going under the runway. Is there any contingency plan in place just in the event that it become they have tumultuous rainfalls and so on? Is there any contingency plan in the place to deal with something like that? Because quite obviously you're dealing with the runway that is where plane would land and so on and so forth, and you need to have some form of contingency plan in place. That's one. Two, I don't know how the sector in terms of the tourism aspect would develop, but I know Argyle is out in the country and the main business sector is in Kingston. would, after the airport, how you deal with stayover guests, would there be hotel, supermarket, and so on? I think you need to talk a little bit more about that.
The first one is a good question. And if you remember when I put up the slides there, I showed you that we're going to have 5 parallel culverts running under the runway. These culverts are about, well, the diameter is 10 by 20. So they are 20 feet wide and about 10 feet high. And we have 5 of them. The idea really is that the river level was calculated so that 2 of these culverts can carry the water under the runway without using the other 3. So we have built 5, and 3 will be essentially reserved, so that whenever we are maintaining or cleaning 3 at the ends, we can close those 2 in the middle and allow the river to use those 3 at the ends. And then when we are able now to use the ones in the middle, we will close off the ones at the ends. So it's some redundancy that we have built into the system, so that if there is a serious flood, then all 3 can be open to allow the river to flow through all 3 of them, so that we don't have the runway flooding and or the river bank rising so much and then overflowing onto the runway itself. So we have essentially built a series of culverts far greater than what we would expect in the next 100 years, the river level to rise to threaten the runway itself. In fact, when we designed it, we had a symposium in Argyle where we invited just about all the stakeholders in St. Vincent and all of the engineers in St. Vincent. The design was done by a Cuban team. And we wanted them to be subjected to questions from anybody who might have some issue about the designs. And what came out of those discussions from the local people was that we were spending too much money on building too many culverts. That was their issue. They thought that perhaps 2 or 3 should be enough. Why build 5? Now you're asking me the exact opposite question. Are we at risk of flooding and overflowing the runway? I can tell you that the river level is not likely to rise, not in your lifetime nor mine, to have that. So you can rest assured. The next issue is, hotels and so on in Argyle. You're right. Argyle is perhaps not the place where you would expect many hotels to be built. I can imagine that you may find people in and around the community area of Stubbs and Peruvian Vale and Call and so on might find it interesting to build a few rooms for people who want to overnight. For example, if a plane comes in at say 9 or 10 o'clock at night and you have to come to Leeward here, Tina was just saying that, you probably would not want to drive from Argyle at 11 o'clock to come to Leeward. It might be better that you stay over in a bed and breakfast for just one night, and then maybe the next day you come to Leeward. Or perhaps if you have to go to the Grenadines, you would be required to stay over. But I am not sure, I can't see it quite yet, that tourists would come and stay in Argyle for 5, 6, 7 days, because there's not a whole lot of things to do in Argyle. But then this is my vision. Maybe in 10 years' time, the environment might change and there might be a demand for hotels for long-stay people in Argyle. So we have to see how the thing develops. But everything is going to be driven now by the demand of the people who come at Argyle. So that you may very well find that from Argyle to Kingstown, different types of businesses are created along that path in response to the demand created by the people who are using the airport. Well, I don't know what those businesses would be, but if you go to Trinidad, for example, and if you go to Grenada, from Piarco into Port of Spain, there are all sorts of businesses along the roadside. And I suspect in time, our country will develop like that too. I'm sorry my friend Grant Leslie is not here to address your questions directly, because as the chief, he really ought to be able to speak in a very informed way about how agriculture should benefit from the new airport. But I can tell you though, and I am going to give you a few examples. The Amerijet that comes here to St. Vincent right now is a 727 aircraft. Normally, it would require more than 4,600 feet, which is what we have at E.T. Joshua, to take off with a full load. So because of the shortened runway that we have, it cannot take off with anything more than 50% of the maximum takeoff weight. That means it has to go half full. Because it goes half full, then it has to make money, so it charges you twice as much as if the plane was full. So that when it takes cargo from St. Lucia, from Trinidad, the freight charge on the cargo in those countries is nearly half of what we pay in St. Vincent. Now when you go, for example, goes on Amerijet to Miami, and you have to compete with St. Lucians and with Trinidadians who are selling perhaps the same thing using Amerijet, your cost is already higher than theirs. So, and you have to sell at the same price, isn't it? So your profit is going to be that much smaller. So that is one way we think the airport can help, that when Amerijet comes here and land at Argyle, I can guarantee you one thing: the freight charge will have to be reduced. And if the freight charge is not reduced, you don't have to use them, because there would be American Airlines, perhaps, there might be WestJet, or there might be Delta, which can carry cargo, and you simply give your business to these airlines. So Amerijet would have, and I'm not here about talking Amerijet, they would have no choice but to lower the freight charges. It means that even if you still get the same money for your goods in Miami or in Florida, wherever you sell your stuff, your profit would be better. And you now would be paying, and this is well known, you now would be paying the same freight charges that St. Lucians and Trinidadians and Barbadians have been paying for some time. We would like to see those freight charges reduced here too. The other thing is, of course, is just access. You know, that if you are a fisherman, for example, and you want to sell fish anywhere, just think about it. You need to get your fish from here to there quickly. But can you send that in Liat though? Because Liat can hardly carry the bags that you are carrying with you. Sometimes you have two pieces and one goes and then the other comes maybe a day or two after. But Liat can't leave baggages for their passengers and take cargo instead. So you can't get any space on Liat to carry your cargo. But these passenger aircraft, you know, the big jets, where you're sitting underneath them in the belly of that aircraft, they carry significant amount of cargo. And sometimes the rate is very cheap. So that there is a possibility now that these same planes that bring passengers now give you the capacity to carry cargo out of St. Vincent, so that we have far more capacity now, much more room to send our cargo abroad. And the chances that we might be able to sell and send more and different items.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that question how we can benefit the North Leeward, because the thing is that, in a way, I think it's quite simple, because if we have more people coming here, because it's like when we have a lot of people now coming into Richmond, right? Then the taxi driver, he gets a lot more work. Then the fisherman comes up and he catches a lot more fish, right? Then we go out and we have to find some more breadfruit, and we have to find some more coconut, and then we buy this, and then we get that, and then we have now 2 cooks in the kitchen instead of 1. Then we have another lady cleaning, and so on, you know. So in that way, I think if we can have more people coming here and enjoying this beautiful nature, it creates a lot more jobs and like local jobs around us. So I think that's a direct benefit. Yeah?
It is in fact an important exercise that we should really take the opportunity to learn and expand ways in which we in North Leeward can in fact benefit from a project such as the Argyle International Airport, which is the largest capital investment project in this country. Now, I just want to touch on 2 points really, not so much a question. I was quite impressed with what the work that I see the Richmond Vale Academy and in fact Sally and the guys at the Rosal Cultural and Development Organization has been doing. And there's also the potential for us to really possibly develop one of the first green hotels in St. Vincent right here in North Leeward. And I know there's a European market of people who are naturally looking to come to enjoy this sort of cultural sort of experience where you have a hotel room that is made completely of wood. The bedding, everything in the hotel room is wood. There's no air conditioning, and the lighting is probably a lamp oil, and that sort of natural, authentic sort of hotel experience or stay over. People are actually looking at that sort of excitement and in terms of tourism, and we mentioned sustainable tourism. So that is something that we can even look at considering in the long term in North Leeward, and where we have chefs that are cooking local Creole food, and we have, you know, create a wealth of employment there for persons, in fact farmers and so on, who will be generating some income from that. So I think there's the opportunity for that, where we can look at exploring that here in North Leeward, and maybe some private investors, the Richmond Vale Academy can play a part, and, you know, some European funding or whatever it is can make sure that something like that happened within this community. We're a community that is primarily comprising of farmers and fishermen, and the airport really helps North Leeward in particular in terms of exporting our natural produce. I know of one individual in Troumaca, Mr. Claude Smith, who actually exports you know, fruits and vegetables to the United States. And the time is ripe for us to actually expand our agricultural sector, and we are seeing that banana is dying, and the tariffs and so on with the European Union, we no longer having protection under the World Trade Organization, the WTO. But maybe it's time for us to start diversifying our sector, start planting more fruits, start planting more dashins, tanias, carrots, stuff that we can actually export using the international airport as the mechanism for that exportation. I just want this to show that the airport is really not just for us where we can, hop on a plane and go to New York, where we have a lot of family, or to Canada, or to London, but it is a way in which will benefit North Leeward. It is a way we can utilize the airport as an expansion to benefit and to bring services to our communities. I know we are saying the airport is expensive to build, but an airport, as Dr. Matthias will tell you, an airport isn't there to make a profit, though we would really love for it to be about the money in which we're spending. But it's there to service the country and to service the different subsectors that we thrive off, especially in North Leeward here. So agriculture is one of them. As Rudy had mentioned, export of fish. And we can even expand that in terms of shrimp and lobster and other things. Chicory, even chicory can be sent. And we are very big on the chicory on this side, in Richmond and other places. We can actually export chicory to the States. We have family there. And we don't have to fry it first before we send it on Leat and have to overstay in Barbados. So we have the airport here that can benefit us. It's a benefit the subsectors, and I really commend the administration, the government, for taking this brave effort in completing the international airport.
My name is Taikepe from Rosebank. I am 10 years old. I am an A+ student at the Kingston Preparatory School, and I am presently in grade 5. From my piggy bank savings, I have decided to give $100 towards the completion of the Argyle International Airport. It is my belief that one day soon, I will fly out from the Argyle International Airport. I know that my gift is a small one, but I trust you will accept this small gift from me.